So here we are at this place called Unity Village, Missouri. As I was getting on my elevator to come downstairs to get into my car and make it over here this morning, this fellow had a huge dog. I'm not very good at breeds, so I can't tell you what kind it was, but it was a big dog. And he looked at me and he said, "Oh, are you going to church?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, where are you going to church?" And I said, Unity Village. And he said, "Oh, I've heard of that place," and blah, blah, blah. We got into a little conversation about it, but it made me realize how this place has enriched my life. It's the buildings, it's the grounds, it's the teaching, to be sure. It's the Fillmores, you know, that lowly couple, Charles and Myrtle, that so many years ago, frankly, they were in a lot of trouble. I mean, we'd like to think of them as almost saintly today, but they were at the bottom of the bucket in that particular point in their lives. They were looking for answers, for solutions. They had challenges. Myrtle was diagnosed to not be on the planet very much longer because of tuberculosis. They didn't have any money. We can relate because that's part of the human situation that we're born into. It's a challenging world, right? What they did, however, in addition to giving to us the legacy of this teaching, this unity way of life, was far more important. And what it was, I believe, was this: the spirit of this unity movement, the spirit of it. And I have, over the years, developed a distinction between the teaching and the spirit. I love the teaching. And don't get me wrong, it's like in my DNA at this point, because I was born and raised in this movement. I worked here at Unity Village for 26 years. You couldn't get the unity teaching out of me if you tried. But there's something more important, and that's the spirit. Let me explain what I understand now to be the spirit of this great, powerful movement. Two people in trouble, looking for answers, finding the courage, and I think it took a tremendous amount of courage for them, just as it does for us, to open their minds. You know, I'm going to venture to say 99% of our challenges in life are because our minds are so closed. We can't see what's really going on. We can't see the answers, the possibilities, the opportunities that are always in front of us. They opened their minds, and I have great respect for that. And this was more than 100 years ago. It wasn't so popular then. Well, it isn't even so popular today to live with an open mind. Most of us like to make up our minds, and you know what I'll tell you this morning? The worst thing you can ever do is make up your mind. Oh, it's all made up and it's all tidy and it all looks so pretty and it's perfect just the way it is. And I say, look out. Because once you make up your mind, you can be sure that the energy, the momentum of life is going to come in and just bust that little perfect model all to pieces. Because that's not the way life is. But the Fillmores were open-minded. And I believe that's the most important ingredient any of us can carry into life. In that open-mindedness, then, they began to explore the spiritual nature of different religious persuasions, most especially drawn to the life, the teaching, and the ministry of Jesus Christ, because they had affiliation with that. Myrtle especially had ties, very close connection to Jesus, the man, and Jesus, the presence, Jesus Christ, the presence. So in this open-mindedness, they began this exploration, and as they opened their minds and different ideas and thoughts came to them in their study and in their exploration, they took each one into the center of their being, their heart, and they asked themselves whether or not it resonated with them. And this is real important, my friends, when it comes to the spirit of unity. No matter how many things I might tell you from this platform up here, don't believe a single one of them if they don't resonate in your heart. You will never be asked in unity to accept a teaching that doesn't resonate with you, that doesn't feel right to you. You don't accept the teaching because somebody else tells you it's right or it should be right. You accept it because you know it's right. Now you have something very powerful. You've got an open mind, so you're introducing new concepts. You're becoming adept at the art of taking them within and saying, how does this weigh out for me? And then you, in essence, if you want to follow in the spirit of the Fillmores, take a breath with me here. You make up your own religion. You make up your own religion. That's what they did. That's what they did. They made up their own religion. And if you really want to follow in their footsteps, it's not enough just to embrace everything that they embraced. You have to launch the journey for yourself and create your own religion, which is in essence nothing more than your own belief system. And your belief system is, I believe, based very much, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, on whatever it is that you most value. And you say, well, I'm pretty comfortable with knowing what I value and what I don't value. I would ask you to take another look at that, because I have found that discovering, nurturing, and building a relationship with my values is a lifelong endeavor that never ends, because my values are constantly shifting as my life experience and hopefully my open mind is giving me new insights. So it's not enough just to create my religion. I have to stay on top of my religion. And I have to make sure it's updated and that it's current with who I am and where I am and what's going on in my own consciousness. Now, the tendency is to want to think that once you've got your religion established, or your belief system, your next task is to go out and start to convert others as rapidly as possible. Get them to come into because you see, this gives us a false sense of security, I believe. Look at all these people that agree with me on what I believe. I'm sorry, friends, it doesn't matter whether anybody agrees with you or not. It's your religion. Give them the entitlement and the freedom to create their own religion. And I don't believe we're ever going to be able to experience peace on earth on this planet until every person comes face to face with what they believe is most important and is willing, and certainly we're all able, to create their own belief system and live in integrity with it. And don't you know that's enough without trying to convince or convert anybody else? If you yourself can do it. If you yourself can do it, and I find that's like a project for a lifetime. It keeps me busy, so I don't get too preoccupied with trying to win converts or gain other people to support my position. So from that radical perspective, thank you very much. You're here today, and I want to encourage you, whether it's in person or online, to stay the course with me for the next 2 Sundays. We're going to be exploring what I consider to be the culmination of decades in ministry for me, and personal inquiry and personal discovery, and the significance of discovering and owning and living in integrity with my own value system. It's going to start today. We're going to take a look at the little handout. Did everybody get the handout when you came in? Anybody not get one? Well, that's great. Our ushers did a fantastic job. Let's give them a round of applause for that. This might be the first Unity setting I've ever been in where everybody actually got what they were supposed to get when they walked in the door, so I really do commend them for that. This is a little sheet, we'll talk about it in a minute, value inventory. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to, next Sunday, look at what I call hocus focus. Not to be confused with hocus pocus. Hocus focus, which is once you get this personal value inventory together, you start looking at what it is you really want to focus on. Because if you don't know this already, and I presume most of you do, but it's always worth repeating, whatever you give your attention to is magnified in your life. Whatever you give your focus to, whatever you're preoccupied with. So it's one thing to get a general idea of all the values, the things that are important and meaningful to us, and then it's quite another thing to start focusing in on that and get it down to some specific, what I would call core or authentic values for you. And really build an intimate relationship. Your core values are your significant other. I'm sorry to tell you that. If you've been looking for the significant other out here somewhere, you're not going to find it. And if you try to make somebody else your significant other, be careful, because chances are you're going to be asking them to respond to your demands and your requests and your expectations. And the only place you need to go for that is your own value system. So develop this as if it were a marriage for you, as if you were going to go into this relationship so that you're intimately sensitive to your own value system. And then on September 10th, the following Sunday, we're going to look at the art of waking up. Because it's not enough to discover these values. There's another step involved in this that could be the most important, and that is you've got to keep them in front of your face. And I believe the best time to put them in front of your face is right when you get up every morning, because how you start your day makes your day. So it's an invitation to join me on an adventure, and I believe this is really going to be worth your time, my friends. I don't think there's any greater investment a person can make than understanding what is important to them and doing everything they can every day, moment by moment, to live in integrity with that. And I don't think there's anything more powerful on the face of this earth than a person who knows what matters to them and is doing their best to live in integrity with it. There are so many individuals on this planet that if you approach them and you say to them, Tell me what's the most important thing in your life to you. They cannot answer that question. They may stumble a bit, they may throw some things out, but to have clarity and power around what is important to them is not possible for the majority of us on this planet today. So what we're going to do is look at why this study of values can be so helpful to us. First of all, it helps you to know who you are as a unique expression. So many of us go out into the world and we try to find models, role models, and idols that we can fashion ourselves after. We try to duplicate the success and the experience of other people. But what I'm proposing to you this morning is that you get to know who you are as a unique individual expression of God, of the divine, and begin to live out of that. It helps you tremendously when you're deciding where to invest your resources, your time, your energy, your money. Anytime you have a decision to make, a large decision or a small decision, it's hugely helpful because you have this resource right at hand. You know right away, this is important to me. This, with all due respect, is not so important to me. You have that clarity, and that clarity brings power. It helps in establishing personal boundaries. It helps you to be able to say, well, this is who I am and what I am and where I am, and it's not compatible with whatever this exchange is or behavior is that I'm receiving from something or someone outside of me. So it's not a judgment on your part, it's just a willingness to say, I honor your path completely, but it's not my path. And I trust that you can honor my path, even though it's not your path. How interesting that we don't all have to be the same in order to get along on this planet. We can disagree lovingly and respectfully. And I think that's the beginning of unity on the planet. It helps when it comes to making career choices or relationship commitments of any kind. When it comes to the subject of values, I have found the foremost authority, for me anyway, has been a fellow by the name of Dr. John DeMartini. And when I was down in Miami, he came to visit us on several occasions, and I had the chance to talk with him because he will tell you point blank, if there's something you really want to have in your life and you don't have it, it's because you don't really value it. You might think that you value it, but if you really value something, you'll find it expressed in some form or fashion in your life. He says this in his book, The Values Factor. Your life never lies. What you value most is what your life will reveal. So look at your life. If you want to know what you value right now in this moment, no judgment, no good, no bad, no right, no wrong. Just what's going on in my life as a reflection of what I consider to be most important. He goes on to say, if there is something that you believe you would love to have in your life, such as a more fulfilling career, a life partner, or greater financial freedom, I can tell you that the reason you don't have it yet is almost certainly that you don't truly value it enough. There is something else you value more, and that is where your time, energy, money, and focus have gone, whether you are aware of it or not. Every action you take reflects what's most important to you. And let's say that again. Every action that you take reflects what's most important to you. If you say, I would love to spend this afternoon reading a book and just relaxing and chilling out, but I have to go to a family dinner at my parents' house, and what you're really saying is I value pleasing my parents and my family and maintaining a relationship with them more than I value taking time for myself and reading or whatever I need to do. You see, the catch there is a level of honesty. I'm going to say brutal honesty in what really is important to us. What you actually do, he says, reveals what is most important to you. So your first step in living your inspired destiny is freeing yourself from delusions and being honest about what you're really deciding and doing. Seeing the truth clearly means not deluding yourself about what you are actually doing or what you would truly love to do. So it's not necessarily fun work all the time. If there's something going on out here that's not pleasing to you, that you don't like, that upsets you, can you trace it to whatever it is that you are valuing? If there's conflict going on in your experience out here, can you be honest and powerful enough to say, that conflict is a reflection of a conflict that's going on inside of me? And I'm the only one that can resolve that conflict. And it has nothing to do with resolution coming from anybody or anything outside of me. It's my own internal conflict. Now, here's the catch, my friends. As we begin to address whatever it is that's going on in here, projected out here that we don't like, we are getting our hands on the keys to a cooperative, peaceful existence on this planet together. We're also getting the keys to a cooperative, successful relationship and interaction with our families, our loved ones, our parents, our children, our spouses, our co-workers, because it all begins inside of us. All right, take out your little value inventory. And here's the challenge. This part one of the challenge for you. That is to make a list. And I suggest when you get home today, at least get a piece of paper and a pen out, or a pencil, or get your computer out and start this list running. It's going to be a list of everything you can possibly identify in your experience that has value for you, that has meaning for you. And the rules of this value inventory are honesty. We've already discussed that to a degree. Objectivity. Try to look as though you're doing this value list for somebody else. It makes it easier. Because there'll be some values you're just going to be gloating over and so proud of that you hold these values. There'll be other stuff in there, I guarantee you, that's like, I really value this, but it'll be revealed to you in this inventory. Be judgment-free. Be self-compassionate. It's like whatever I find in this inventory, I'm going to love and appreciate myself in the discovery. And then appreciate every single value that you have. Because every single value, the evolution of your value system and the creation of your religion is under the auspices and the direction of a higher order here, my friends. That higher order is your authentic nature, or what in unity we would refer to as the Christ nature. So when you go into this inventory, ask that nature that you know yourself to be, that's actually one with you, to lead and guide the way through this inventory. Then we come to the resources, also listed on your little handout here. Resources being number one, calendar. Look at your calendar. You got your little list going here, okay? So you're just writing down words as you make discoveries. Where is your time going? That will tell you a lot about what's important to you. Look at your bank account. Bank account never lies. Where's your money going? What are you spending money on? It's going to tell you something about what you think is important. Look at your environment. Look at your possessions. Every one of them, I would venture to say, can reveal something to you about your own personal value system. What you're good at, what you enjoy, and what you get praise for. Keep that list running down here. Some of these will be I actually have everything from the grandest, like a perpetually peaceful state of mind, to the simplest. Angela and Ashlyn, my daughter and granddaughter, will appreciate this because I have these little soap dispensers in my home, one in the bathroom and one in the kitchen. And when you push them down, because of the nature of the soap that's inside of them, which is very liquidy, they shoot the soap out at you, like on your clothes or in your face. And I was puzzled by this, and I was complaining to At Home Store. I thought they shouldn't be selling these things because they just shoot soap all over you, and it doesn't make any sense. And then I realized it wasn't the soap dispenser, it was the soap that I was putting into the dispenser, which was very, very liquidy. So I changed out the soap, you'll be happy to know. And now it just comes right out into a nice little pile on your hand, and you can handle your business. Now, that is important to me. And call me crazy. Won't be the first time someone's done that. Call me crazy, but that's something I value. Every time I go in there and squirt that soap dispenser, it's simple, but I'm grateful for it. So it could be from the most mundane of things to the greatest and grandest of things. Whatever it is, put it on the list. Don't make any judgment. Just build this list because you want to get as many things on the list as you can. And finally, take a look at any peak experiences in your life, those moments when you really felt on your game, and take a little inventory there. Go visit Google. Just put in values or value list or core values or whatever you like, but get in there because there's a lot of information. And again, I don't have the prescription for you to find out exactly what your value system is, but you'll get it. And if you go to Google, you'll find lots of different methods that are recommended. You'll also find enormous lists of values that you can consider. Just, again, take them in, contemplate them. Does it resonate for you? Does this feel important to you? If it does, add it to your list. If it doesn't, you don't have to. Some of the words that are on my values inventory: generosity, appreciation, peace. And let's go for just a moment to the bottom of your handout, the arenas, because these are really interesting arenas. 3 arenas of values. I'm sure there are more, but these are 3 that I've identified. Practiced values, those are values that are now being lived, and you have evidence to support that they're being lived, okay? So you can look out in your life and say, here, I have evidence that not only do I value this, but it's showing up in my life, so it's proof that I hold it as a value. Second, there are professed values, proclaimed as being lived, but there's no evidence. I have a little story of a friend of mine who was driving down 291 out here the other day and came, I think it was to Langsford intersection, and the light turned yellow, and like all of us, she slowed down at the yellow light. You're supposed to laugh at that point because nobody slows down at a yellow light, my friends. Everybody speeds up, right? She slows down, comes to a complete halt. That's good because there are people trying to cross over the street in front of her. Meanwhile, the guy behind her, who's been tailgating her for several blocks, starts honking his horn incessantly, yelling and screaming, flipping her off. And she's all disturbed and concerned about it. Says, what are you doing? If you just picked up your pace, we could have both gotten through the light and I could be at work by now. So she's really rattled, and meanwhile, the guy that's still carrying on, ranting and raving in his car behind her, realizes that there's a police officer next to him, staring at him through the window of his car. And the police officer says, sir, will you please step out of the car? Raise both your hands. He handcuffs the guy, puts him in the patrol car, takes him down to police headquarters, puts him in a holding cell, and for 2 hours, the man sits down there thinking, what in the world is going on here? The officer comes back, and he says, sir, I really do need to apologize to you. He says, because, well, I drove by and I saw that you were ranting and raving at this poor elderly woman who was just trying to obey the law and stop at the light. I saw you flip her off. I saw you screaming obscenities at her. And then I looked at your rear of your vehicle, and I saw the 2 bumper stickers on the car. One of them says, what would Jesus do? And the other one says, follow me to Sunday school. So he says, naturally, I assumed you had stolen the car. Arrested for a bumper sticker. But you see, how many of us are running around with bumper stickers on our cars saying, oh, I love God and I love Jesus and I'm a good Unity student? How is it actually showing up? So there are those values we profess, but they don't really have any evidence in our lives. And then finally, preferred values being not lived, but desired. And I threw my email in here at the bottom of this handout because if you get serious and you really want to pursue this, my friends, the value inventory, I want to help you. Because I believe not only this is the most important work for your own personal life, but I believe it's the only way we're going to survive and thrive on this planet. So I think it's super important, and I want to help and support you. Other words, silence, freedom, confidence, predictability, security, love, overwhelm, and stress. I'm sorry to say before you this morning that's a value that I obviously hold because I still feel overwhelmed and stressed, even though I retired last October and I'm not supposed to have any of those experiences anymore. Obviously, I hold them as valuable, and obviously they're expressing in my life. So here's the assignment, if you choose to accept it. Your mission, should you choose to accept it. For the next 6 days, make your list. Email me, let me know if you have any questions or you need support. Bring your list with you next week. And together we're going to contemplate, meditate, reflect, and discover what's most important to you. I believe this could be the greatest gift that you ever give yourself. And I want to say, please be with us, either in person or online, for the next 2 weeks, the next 2 Sundays. This is going to be an amazing discovery and I believe a life-changing experience for you if you choose to accept it and if you choose to buy into it. And you're free to buy into it or not. I just am strongly encouraging it because you can probably tell I have a little enthusiasm around the subject. I guarantee, my friends, it will change your life. And I believe it can change our world. God bless you. I value tying my shoes and not falling over myself before I go into the meditation. So, I don't know, I need a little rest after all that. Just breathe in with me, my friends, because this is where we take it out of the intellect and we go beyond the world of words into our most authentic self. And you know what? That authentic self already knows right now what's most important to you. and it's ready to reveal it, it's probably been waiting to reveal it. And it will reveal it again and again and again on deeper and deeper levels. Every day of your life, it is possible for you to discover new values, new beautiful experiences that await you. And all that's required is for you to become aware, self-aware, and then support yourself. Support yourself on the journey, the adventure, the discovery of a lifetime. There are individuals that may move through their entire worldly experience without ever contemplating this most important question: what matters most? For what matters becomes matter. What matters to you becomes the stuff of your life. Now, with minds open and receptive, we rest for a few moments in the silence and invite our authentic nature, Christ in you, the hope of glory, to speak. Above all, I want to live in total authenticity with the priorities of my heart. And I'm willing to do the work, to look at those pockets of my own consciousness where perhaps I am still out of alignment, yet knowing that I have everything that I need to find the balance, to find the strength, to find the same courage that the Fillmores found so many years ago, and build my own way of living. Dear God, I am grateful, and I give thanks in the name, in the nature, and through the power of all that is sacred and holy and beautiful. And that is everything. Amen.